Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to our second edition of Red, White, and Ruthless. This week, we have a special show tonight. This one is not going to be necessarily dedicated to the Buffalo Bills. This is going to be more dedicated to the rest of the AFC East, along with some matchups that we are excited about for week 2 overall. We'll be discussing the Buffalo Bills, but we've already done our post-game show. We will turn it over to a little bit of that, but also moving on to the rest of the AFC East and the rest of the NFL in week 2. And then we'll kind of give you a preview of what we will discuss for our week 3 matchup on Monday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We will have all this and more today on the Red, White, and Ruthless. But first, we have to hit our intro. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Red, White, and Ruthless, presented by GoBillsPodcast.com, Nickel City Mafia, and Red, White, and Bills. I am your host, Brett McDurphy, here with my co-host, as always, Sean Kula of the Red, White, and Bills. How are you doing, man?
Doing wonderful, dude. It was a short week. Now it's going to be a long week, and it's even better when you get the win and you can celebrate for the 10 long days. You're not going to have your team's football. And you can sit back, relax, and watch other teams win or lose. And, I'm going to miss seeing the Bills on Sunday, but we saw them twice this week, and they need some good rest going into Monday Night Football at home. Huge game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's been a little bit weird not having Bills football or something to look forward to for, another 8 days. It feels a little different. Like we're back to the off season where we don't have Bills football. But we are starting off the year. We're the first team to start the year off 2-0, which is a great feeling for us. I know that you and I are excited. We've been talking in the group chat. And, man, how about a week 2 win in Miami, taking over South Beach and dominating the Miami Dolphins to do that? The first thing that I do want to mention, as always, is going to be the continued prayers for Tua Tagovailoa and his family. That was a scary moment when he made contact with Damar Hamlin, and we don't know what the future is going to hold for him, whether he's going to continue to play football or not. But this is more important than football. This is somebody's life, and we just want to continue to send prayers out to Tua and his family.
Absolutely.
But Sean, let's start off the show. Let's talk about that Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins game. And we've done a little bit of the good, the bad, the ugly that we saw out there. But Sean, just give me, number one, your perspective of what you saw out there, and real quick, enlighten the viewers that did not watch the post-game show that we did. Just give them a little bit of a idea of what we saw out there for the Bills.
Yeah, well, it was a complete team win on all phases of the football. I was really surprised with how well the defense played against, that kind of offense where, any week they can put up the most points, and they're a top 3 offense every year since they had McDaniel and Tua together. So to have a bunch of guys who maybe weren't supposed to play come in there and hold them to 10 points, prior to Tua having his injury, they were forcing the Dolphins not to play good football. And I know sometimes that gets lost, not just for, when our teams play, but any team that dominates another team. A lot of people make it seem like, oh, one team just played bad, that's why it happened. No, you played bad because the team that you lost to forced you to play bad. So, yeah, the defense did outstanding. And it was really just it just goes to show the different attitudes of the teams. We're more of a physical bully ball type team who wants to punish you. And that was a new mantra for the Dolphins this year. A lot of the new veterans like Jordan Poyer, Calais Campbell, who are dogs, come in and try to instill that kind of energy into that locker room. And they punched back week 1, and it was just too tough for them to punch back in week 2. But again, don't get it twisted. That's still a fantastic football team. They'll still win games without Tua, not because Tua is not good, but because of the talent on that roster. And if McDaniels is good of a coach as people think, they'll still win football games, and they'll rally together and win. But overall, I was very pleased with how we played on a short week in their stadium against a really good football team. I'll take that anytime.
Yeah, the one thing I want to add that we didn't talk about in our pregame show or a post-game show on Nickel City Mafia is how well Bills Mafia traveled down to South Beach. I mean, you look at Fort Lauderdale, you look at Miami. I mean, all over, there was Bills parties everywhere that you got to see. And I saw a lot of photos from both South Beach and Fort Lauderdale, that area, the whole Miami metro area. It was incredible to see how Bills Mafia travels, and they always do. It's always that way wherever we go. But just to take over a stadium and make it loud. And I remember Ed Oliver talking after the game. He was talking about the Ja'Marcus Ingram interception. He said that him and AJ Epinesa were taking Tua to the ground. And he said that he heard the crowd yelling, and he thought that Tyreek Hill was going down the sideline scoring a touchdown. And in return, all it was Ja'Marcus Ingram going down the other side, and it was Bills Mafia being loud. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, that's really incredible. I always laugh because I'm like, 1, don't these people work? 2, if they do work, they have really awesome bosses that let them take every week on an away game off to go travel. So I just always think it's funny. But we really do a good job of trying to take over other stadiums. Obviously, we're never gonna, have the majority. I mean, I think we did in Tennessee once because there's a lot of Bills fans out in Nashville. But we definitely put up a good fight in Miami. But it's a huge help to our team if we could travel well even on away games, and more Bills fans and less of the other team's fans helps us more, as far as having to do a hard count or silent count, whatever we have to do. But yeah, one thing I do want to say, the grades came out after the post game, obviously, and our defense the entire game had 17 total pressures, which was really, really, really good. Von Miller had 4 alone. And their poor right tackle surrendered 7 of the 17. Wow. And he's a starter who got paid last year. So 4 of them were probably Von Miller, and the other 3 were probably a mixture of Rousseau and who came in after him. Maybe Kingsley Jonathan. I know Kingsley Jonathan had 1 or 2, but yeah, overall that the defensive line was relentless the entire night, and it allowed the cornerbacks and all the back half to play free and physical and fast, and it worked out real good.
Yeah, I want to go to the chat real quick. We do have a couple people coming in. One of them I haven't seen in a while. Seven coming into the chat. Hey guys, thanks for the show. As well as Bills fan CA coming into the chat. He says the question has to be, is McDaniels really a good coach? They keep losing to the Bills, which I don't mind, but people would be screaming for McDermott's head if roles were swapped. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a great point that you're making there, Bills fan CA. And I mean, if it were the opposite way around, the Bills losing to the Miami Dolphins, Sean McDermott's head would be taken off right away. I mean, they would try and hang him in downtown Buffalo for sure. But
to that point, Brett, you guys know I'm deeply rooted in the Dolphin streets of YouTube with all my friends from that community. And the last year of Flores, he had 10 wins. It was before the 17 game season starts. Mm-hmm. So he was 10-6, and they missed the playoffs. And guess who was not on that football team? Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle was. Tyreek Hill, Teron Armstead, Connor Williams, all these Jalen Ramsey, all these players that were there after Flores. And McDaniel's most wins he's had as a head coach is 11. So with all that extra talent, it brought in one more win than Brian Flores did with a worse version of Tua, and less weaponry. So a lot of people in the community always go back and forth about, is McDaniel really a great coach? Because with all this talent, he only had one more win than Flores that one year, and Flores got 10 wins in his best season with way less talent.
Right.
So it's a big conspiracy about who's actually the better coach. Now it's really good, especially if Tua is out for the foreseeable future. This would be a real good time to see what your team is made of and what your coach is made of. Because, like, for example, if Josh Allen, if this was reversed and Josh Allen was missing a significant amount of time because of that, I don't think this team can survive, no matter how good the coaching is, and because we don't have the kind of talent Miami does on both sides of the football. Right. Overall, they got a better roster than us, and that's not a question to me. You probably could debate it, but I think Miami's had a better roster for a couple of years now. But because they have such a great roster, they should be able to put together wins. So that if they don't, it's purely on McDaniel, and then heads will roll for sure. Because they kind of went all in. Chris Greer, what's his name? Stephen Ross wants to win.
Yeah.
He's getting old. He really wants a Miami Dolphins Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting. But I know Chris mentioned Cam Lewis. He wants to get his jersey because he loves how he plays. And he honestly played the first week. He kind of saved the game in a way. He made some key third down tackles that were huge, and he came in on cold feet. And then I said he had a pretty solid day last week, but he's the kind of guy that you're happy he can step in and produce for you when you're losing some starters.
Yeah, especially when you do lose a couple of starters, and that's been the case for the Buffalo Bills on their defense this year. Look at the amount of stars that are missing. Matt Milano, now Terrell Bernard being out for 4 weeks, and you add in, Taron Johnson, who's pretty much equivalent to being the third linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, missing all those pieces, and the Bills still dominate that way. And it comes down to, like we mentioned in the pregame show, Sean, which was the Bills pass rush getting to Tua, giving him fits, making him uncomfortable in the pocket, and then causing him to make mistakes. That's what we saw out there. And then on the back end, Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas doing a great job of keeping Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in check and only giving up 60 yards. That tells me that this defense is legit, and this defense is going to be very good when you have Terrell Bernard back. And then later in the season, towards the playoff time, getting Matt Milano back. Also, in a few weeks, we will have Taron Johnson coming back. It's expected that he will miss around 3 to 4 weeks. That's incredible. And Bills fan CA coming into the chat saying the Bills corners are highly underrated. You're exactly right when you say that. These cornerbacks did an excellent job, and they are underrated. Rasul Douglas, the past 2 weeks, excellent job covering number one receivers, and the zone coverage that we have seen, as well as man-to-man that we've saw this week going up against both Hill and Waddle, and having help over the top from the safety is help for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I noticed a couple of things, Brett. The first thing, as Mike said, Christian Benford is taking another step forward. The few people on this team that I feel like people overhype too soon, and then I say, oh, this is what I think, and I think they need to do this, and then whatever. They always seem the next year to always take another step to their game. So I don't want to take credit for all these guys like Greg Rousseau, Christian Bedford, Spencer Brown taking that leap forward. But up until now, in my opinion, Christian Benford was the kind of guy that I felt was protected by the scheme of cloud coverage. He was more of a back off kind of corner, didn't make many plays. Got in there once in a while for a pass breakup, but wasn't a splash kind of guy. Wasn't that aggressive. But even the first, he did have a lot of pass breakups last year, but I just felt like he was more conservative in his defense. And this year he's been, I know it's only 2 games, but he seemed to be taking that step up to be an aggressive kind of corner in his zone defense, and I like that. Right. And I'm excited about him. The only one negative for me from this game, besides the TB injury, is that now there's no excuse when we play another good team for this defense, no matter how many people are injured. Because if this Miami Dolphin offense scored more points than the Ravens offense last year, scored more points than we're going to play the Jets, but they're a little bit better now.
Right.
But the Texans, they scored more than the Texans last year. Now the Texans added Diggs and Mixon, but still, they proved, and they played outstanding that they could stop one of the best offenses in the league.
Right.
2 receivers that are getting paid up in top 5 money. They held them both combined to 60 yards. So now there's no excuse even without Bernard and Ben and Taron Johnson next week and the week after.
Right.
They better come to play and produce like they did this past week. Obviously, you're not going to get 3 picks every week, but be able to stop other good offenses because you did. So again, that's the only negative, and that's what happened last year too when we were playing without Milano and we were producing. And it come to the playoff time, I was like, well, they produced all year now. So now I don't want – there's no excuse in the playoffs. And then, of course, they fail in the playoffs. So that's kind of how I just see it as only a little bit of a negative because now they have an expectation that they – because, would you have been surprised if they gave up a lot of points against the Dolphins? I wouldn't have been surprised.
I wouldn't have been surprised, but I would have imagined that would happen.
Exactly. So that's why, now that they didn't and they did outstanding, now I have to hold that standard to them every week now. Now if they give up – if they give up 24 plus to the Jags, I'm gonna be disappointed and have to be kind of critical on them because they play so outstanding against Miami. But yeah, sorry, you want to hit Trey's brought up a good question now.
Yeah, I want to bring up Bills fan CA's
comment
because he's asking about Taron Johnson, what the update is. I'll go over a little bit of an update for the team. That way you guys understand. Taron Johnson, number 1, is going to be out about 3 to 4 weeks. The Bills did not place him on IR, which kind of gives us a little bit of optimism that he will be back within the 4 games of the IR return designation. So the Bills are expecting possibly a 2 to 3 game or 2 to 3 more games that he will miss. You have to remember the Bills are playing on Monday Night Football this week and then Sunday Night Football next week. So the Bills could very well miss him for the next 2 games, and then he could be back in week 5. And to go along with Terrell Bernard, 4 games that he will miss is probably about the expectation. I do think that he will miss more than that just because the Bills don't like to rush people back. So I expect maybe a 4 to 5 games that he will miss, somewhere in that range, maybe even 6. I expect him to go on IR next week. And then we also had Casey Toohill, the other injury that the Bills had. He came back into the game. Seems fine. He does have a knee injury, but it could very well be that something that was just very minor. He could have just tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah, he made a couple of good plays after he came back in. So I think he'll be good. And honestly, I think because Jordan Love, he had his sprained MCL, and it's like a 6 to 8 week kind of recovery, and they didn't even put him on IR. So with TJ, with playing on Thursday night, you kind of lose that week designation, because you played twice within 4 days. But I could see him maybe missing the Jags game and maybe being able to play in Baltimore, but it's all based on how he's going to be progressing. If they think, oh, he's 90-something%, they're probably going to play him. But if it's like, I don't know, he'll probably be there for Houston. But Trey brings up a pretty good point. Nervous about the Jags game. They really have the Bills number. 2 of those things, well, actually all of it I agree with. But what I will say is, for me, I'm nervous about every game. Even if we're playing Carolina 17 times, I'd be nervous every time. They do have our number. That's 100% fact. And their D-line is very good. But that same Miami Dolphins offensive line that you saw us tear apart, they did a very good job against Jacksonville week 1. So could it have been lightning in a bottle for them? Maybe. But I honestly think as a unit collectively, our defensive line edges them out a little bit. And I believe in our offensive line a ton. I know it's going to be a, get your popcorn ready kind of matchup with Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins. So that's what you want to see, a elite tackle and elite pass rusher. They do have Eric Armstead as a defensive tackle. I got a feeling that our interior line is going to handle him pretty well. And then Trayvon Walker, he did have 10 sacks last year, but again, he's not upper echelon type pass rusher. So I think him and Spencer Brown's another good matchup where Brown should be able to handle him because I feel like they're on the same level. They're both pretty good, but not up in the elite status yet.
Right.
Again, I mean, Trayvon Walker, he's a little bit younger, so maybe maybe a year or two less than Brown. Maybe he already took another step forward this year. But I got a good feeling about how we're going to be against them. Now they do have really good linebackers. Oluwaquan, he's like one of the only people to get like over 150 tackles the last 4 years every year. Him and Mosley, I think they're probably two of the best as far as tackling stat goes. So he's going to be a good guy to you want to block down. You want to get to the second level and block him out on some run plays. But yeah, I mean, the Jags team, we're going to see how they play this week. But if they don't play good again, because really against Miami, they kind of blew that game. And if they don't play well again this week, and we played as well as we did, and we got 10 days of rest to get ready for this game home against Jacksonville at Monday night, I got a really good feeling about it. But yeah, they're still a good football team. So how do you feel?
Yeah, you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. You talked about the defense. I'm going to talk about the offense of the Jaguars. And, starting off with Trevor Lawrence, he's hit or miss a lot. But he seems like he plays his best games against the Buffalo Bills. And you look at the backfield that they have with Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. That's a great number one and number two to have there. And then go on to the wide receiver room. They have Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr. You add in Gabe Davis, who knows the Buffalo Bills offense very well, as a number 2 or 3 there. And then you add into that Evan Ingram, who's an excellent tight end. And this offense of the Jaguars with Doug Peterson calling plays is going to give the Bills fits. I think this is going to be a very close game. I don't think that we're going to see what we saw in week 2 necessarily from the Bills. I don't think you're going to see the picks. I think it's going to be more of the go down the field, and you're going to see less defense and more offense out there. But the Bills are going to have to keep up with a team that is going to put up a lot of points. And that's what I want to see is, can we win games that are going to get into the 30s, for each team? I think for sure that it's going to be like a 35-31 game, somewhere in that range. I don't think the defense is going to be nearly as good, just because we're going to have to play a lot more man coverage in this game, and we're not going to have safety help over the top necessarily. But you also have to add into the fact that the Miami Dolphins had a running back that was injured, and they didn't have Raheem Mostert out there. You're going to have Travis Etienne, a really good running back, out there with fresh legs, and then you add in the bruiser with Tank Bigsby out there as well. So it's going to be difficult, but we'll see what the defense can do. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be nearly as good as we saw in week 2.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's tough to say, but I think A-Chain's a little bit more explosive than ETN is. I think they both can catch the ball out of the backfield well, but it's tough because, like Trey said, we kind of struggle against Jacksonville, and I don't know if it's definitely not just personnel, because we beat better teams than that. It's just one of those teams. Trevor Lawrence, and he's not that great of a quarterback. We got to him a ton in London. Epinesa had 2 strip sacks on him alone. So I got a good feeling about this game. Like, Evan Ingram's a problem. Got to watch him. They lost their starting corner. They just paid a ton of money. He's on the IR for a few weeks now. So you want to exploit that for sure. But yeah, it should be a really good matchup. I just got a good feeling if they don't play well again this week and we have all that rest and we're home, coming off of a great win with Miami, they should be coming in at home Monday night with a ton of energy and ready to build off of that. And if they don't, you'll be able to see it right away, and then you can see how great this is going to be, that kind of game. I feel like this might be a game where Josh Allen might have to do a little bit, not that he didn't do a lot last week. We really didn't do much on offense in general because we had a lot of short field and we scored. And I mean, I think we passed 19 times. Cook ran 11 times. So really, we didn't really have to do much because of our short field, and we took advantage of that. And to your point, we're not going to be able to probably get 3 turnovers, and we're going to have to drive the field, a little bit longer than we did last week. Just take advantage of the opportunity. I think we'll be able to to have a good matchup on our offense versus their defense too. Obviously we'll get into more as we get closer to the pregame.
Yeah, this is going to be a game. I mean, that obviously it's going to be electric out there in Highmark Stadium, especially on Monday Night Football. I always love when games are on Monday Night Football. The last game that I can even remember besides the New England game on Monday Night Football is going back to the Dallas Buffalo game, that after having a long time not having games at Orchard Park on Monday Night Football, we had that game against Tony Romo, 5 interceptions in that game, and the Bills lose that game. I'll never forget that, with Nick Folk kicking that field goal, and just the aggravation that I had. And then seeing T.O., walk off the field and everything, run on to the field and everything. It's just crazy to see that. And then I kept saying, when that happened, I said, T.O., if you ever become a free agent, you're coming to Buffalo. I can just feel it happening. And then he did.
Buffalo.
Yeah, he did. So I want to turn it over to Sank7 coming into the chat saying, do you guys think we are going to see Bishop on the rotation more, or keep Rapp and Hamlin for more chemistry? That's a great question that you have there. I'll turn it over to Sean first, and then I'll give my answer.
Yeah, absolutely great question. I think let's leave it as it is right now. They're both been doing a really, really good job together. Hamlin led the team in tackles yesterday. No, not yesterday, 2 days ago, with 10, and he had a tackle for loss too. And he's, man, if he never had that incident, I think he could have been probably elite by now. Yeah, he's great, man. He's one of our best tacklers as far as actually hitting and bringing people down. He's always around the football. I love how he's been playing. And again, Rapp, he's the hardest hitter on the team for sure. Obviously besides like defensive lineman, if you got a good crack at someone, but he's just been absolutely fantastic in the defense, and with more playing time and having a starting role, I think he's been performing well. So at this point in time, after 2 weeks, I don't think it's needed. But maybe, to your point, Sink, especially when Taron Johnson's gone, if they want to play dime, maybe bring Bishop in a little bit. He had a good pass breakup, and but they might, because their other two are playing so well. He's still coming off of an injury. Maybe there'll be a little bit like, well, we might put you in if we need to, but there's no need.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure we'll see him more near the end of the year too.
Yeah, you bring up a couple of good points there, Sean. You mentioned the play of Taylor Rapp and Damar Hamlin. I want to talk about the play real quick of Cam Lewis as well as Ja'Marcus Ingram coming in. That's why I believe strongly that Cole Bishop is going to be on the bench more often. Like you mentioned, that you will see him more towards the end of the season. I think he's going to come in if there's going to be somebody that gets injured. But the way that this defense is playing, I wouldn't change anything out there. I think that they're doing a really good job. You bring him in big nickel type situations. That's where I could see him come in to play. But I don't expect to see him out there on the field and becoming the starter anytime soon when you have a team that's gelling so well together. I do want to bring up Trey Williams' comment here. He mentions that the Bills corners seem better than last time they played the Jags. I want to bring this up real quick because the change from John Butler to having Jamil Ade in there calling or being the secondary coach, I think it's made a big difference in what we've seen from the Bills being more aggressive out there instead of playing more zone and giving up the plays. You've seen it with Christian Benford going out there and being around the ball, and Rasul Douglas, the tight coverage that you're seeing. And then it turns over to Cam Lewis and Ja'Marcus Ingram. Again, cornerbacks that are making big plays, getting into their assignments, doing a great job. In 2 games, I got to say that this guy in Jamil Ade, he could easily, by the end of the year, get a job for a defensive coordinator position if he keeps up the way that this defense is playing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think hopefully a lot of these coaches that could be getting offers will want to see it through, because there's the constant coaching rotation carousel every year is just getting to be too much when you have a Super Bowl window or a Super Bowl caliber team, you want to kind of keep the same kind of things and, coaches and just consistency. But hopefully they could stay at least for another year or two. But yeah, at the same time too, I think against last year, like Mike says, we didn't have Rasul in London. Plus, Hyde and Poyer looked horrible.
Yeah.
And Poyer,
Milano, and we're missing.
you lost Jones and Milano in the same game. Yeah, and again, we learned how to play with them without them, but losing them both at the same time, and then again, Poyer on a 3rd and 25, he gave up a reception, and then somebody gave up a reception, and then he hit him in the back of the head and gave up 15 more yards, and that led to points when it could have been a punt. So yeah, because the ball it wasn't a reception; it was way over Ridley's head, and then Ridley came down, and then Poyer hit him in the back of the head. So and then Hyde got beat by Ridley to end the game, really, and it was just dumb. So I think we'll be much better suited this year. And again, not to make the excuse, but they were already in London, and I think which is not an excuse. This part is we didn't do a good job preparing to get there. We waited till the last possible minute, which was dumb, and we weren't prepared. So that was on us. But to have the advantage of already being there, and the Jags players said that too. They said we've already been here, so we didn't have to deal with all that stuff that they had to deal with coming here. And they're also doing that again this year. They're already in. They're going to be there 2 weeks again in London this year. So they get that advantage every year. It kind of sucks, but I think this will be a different game. Finally, I mean, but then hey, we're 12-13 the last 12-1 last 13 games against Miami. So who knows? We struggle with Jacksonville, so it could never change. But I like to think that this will be another one of those boxes to check. And then hey, if you could start 3-0 with the schedule we got, we're looking pretty, man. And then you got 3 more hard games in a row, all away. So you'd like to. We always talk about it with the first 6 games. At worst, you want to be 3-3 because of how tough the schedule is. Right. If you can come out 4-2 or better, man, that sets you up big time for the later end of the year where you got to play the Niners, the Lions, the Rams, and the Chiefs. That's just 4 of the teams in the back. And plus, you got to play Miami again. Plus, you got to play the Jets again, division team. Not even counting the Patriot games yet because they look pretty damn good. And I know we'll talk a little about the AFC East, but it's Miami's a great team. The Cardinals could be a really good team. We have to see them play more. And then you got the Jags, who are a good team, the Ravens, who are an amazing team, the Texans, who are an amazing team, and the Jets you got to see, but they got a good roster. So be 4-2 or better, man. That's proven a lot of people wrong and proven that we're still here to make some noise.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sean. And Bill's Pancier coming into the chat saying we didn't have Rizzo Douglas last year as well as Christian Benford. Great points that he makes there. I do want to go with Trek Reviewer's comment here. He mentions, do we see Buffalo next game? That's a great question. I'll let Sean, you can lead it off. Just a yes or no.
Oh, yeah, he'll be there. I don't know about playing, but we lost Bernard, and he won't be active. So that means either it'd be him or Ulufosio. So we'll see. It'll probably just be based on matchup. If they think they want to have another, brute type, tackler, they'll probably have Joe suit up just in case. And if they're looking for more coverage, they'll probably have Ulufosio. But one of them will be brought up, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. But let's turn it over to the AFC East. Let's go around the AFC East, talk about the Week 2 matchups that we will see. We'll see in the 1 o'clock window, the Seattle Seahawks traveling to New England to take on the Patriots in Foxborough. Let's talk about that matchup real quick. I'll let you lead it, Sean, and talk about that.
Yeah, well, even more so now, like when we did the picks, it was, obviously I picked the Seahawks. They do have a great offensive line. They have great receivers. But now Kenneth Walker is doubtful. and he did outstanding last week. He's also on 2 of my fantasy teams out of the 4. So that kind of sucks. But you saw New England and how well they played last week. And again, it could have just been 1 week, but nonetheless, all we can go off of is right now. Last year doesn't matter. It's all about this year so far. And this year they beat a team that most people, the national media anyway, saw as a Super Bowl contender in the Bengals. And they shut them down with Ja'Marr Chase. I know T. Higgins wasn't playing, but they shut them down. And now they're playing a Seahawks team without their running back. And Seahawks are traveling from the other side of the country. So, hey, it's gonna be a really good game. Seattle's got a good defense too. So as long as Jacoby doesn't turn the ball over again, it'll be a similar type game, I think. I don't think Geno's going to ball out, but it'll probably be nobody's going to score more than 20 points. I don't think, unless there's turnovers. And now if there's a bunch of turnovers, then that's one thing. But yeah, this will be honestly a really good game to watch, I think. And hey, if the Patriots start 2-0, watch out, because they play the Jets on Thursday Night Football this coming week. And if the Jets don't win this week, the Jets are 0-2. Patriots are 2-0. That becomes a season. That could be a season-defining game in Week 3. But how do you feel about the Pats game?
Well, I mean, obviously, I took the Pats to be my upset of the week, and
let me just double check. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. I did. Trust me. Don't worry about that. You don't have to look at that paper. I know who I took. Trust me.
Oh, real quick though, before I got to cut you off, I know some of you might maybe watch our weekly pick segment. I actually forgot to count one of the games to our totals. I said Brett was 10-5 and I was 8-7. He was actually 11-5 and I was 9-7. So I know if some of you watch, I'll make the announcement again on our next show. But I realized when I was watching Keith and Anthony's, I was like, wait, there was 16 games. Why did I think there was 15? But I forgot to check one of the lines with this. I think it was a Seahawks game, and I was like, oh, there it goes. So yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm glad to be 11-5. I mean, that's better than being 10-5. I'll tell you that, and or 10-6. I mean, either way. But no, this game is going to be a lot of fun. And first of all, I want to say, tune on over to Red, White, and Bills and check out the weekly picks episode that we did on there. It's a great episode that we had, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing the money line and what we do at the end of the season. We're going to do a giveaway for sure on your channel at the end of the year. I'll be giving something
Brett
away.
Always volunteers giveays.
Yeah, hey, I'm going to do a giveaway on Nickel City Mafia, and I'll also do a giveaway on your channel as well. It's coming from me. It'll be around $100 each channel that I will be giving away. That is, I do see Bills Fan CA coming into the chat. He's going to remind me, hey, you can't do that without talking to me. But trust me, it'll come from me. It'll be my surprise. So, Bills Fan CA.
Which game you want to talk about next? Trey's talking about the Titans a little bit. So did you want to get into?
Let's talk about the Jets and Titans game. That's going to be another great matchup. You have the Jets starting off 0-1 against the Niners, and then the Titans, their defense looked pretty damn good. I'll tell you that in week 1 against the Chicago Bears. But that game is another one that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Sean, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, that's another really good game. Going back to their week 1 matchups, the Titans lost, but they absolutely shut down this Bear offense. And again, I know it doesn't matter what people say, but the big talk around the town in the offseason were the Bears are really good. They're probably going to compete for the NFC Championship, and the Jets are going to win a division, go to the Super Bowl, and all that stuff, right? And the Titans go in there, and Chicago's offense does nothing. Caleb doesn't even get over 100. I think he had 93 passing yards.
Right.
The only reason why they lost was because a blocked punt touchdown. I had the Bears defense in one of my fantasy leagues, and Will Levis pulled the Tua and was getting sacked and just chucked the ball in the air, and they picked it off for 6, and they won by, I think, 6 as well. I can't remember the score, 24-17, maybe, I don't remember. And then the Jets, I get it. They played the Super Bowl runner-up. They played one of the best teams in the league, but if you want to call yourself Super Bowl contenders, you have to compete with other Super Bowl contending teams. You don't get a free pass because it was Rodgers' first game back and you played the best team in the NFC. If you want to be that team everyone talks about with you, you got to show something. And getting blown out on Monday Night Football isn't it? So they both have a lot to prove. I know the Titans don't have as much expectation as the Jets, but this is going to be a game where both defenses, I think, especially the Jets defense, is going to want to rebound because that's not their standard to them. And I think they're going to be ready to play this week, especially with Will Levis and how he played last week. I bet they can't wait to get their hands on him. But the Jets still have a really good roster, and the Titans have some weapons on their team too. They got Tony Pollard, Tyler Boyd, Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and their offensive line isn't that great, but they got some young guys on there. And their defense, they got Jeffrey Simmons. So, he's and Harold Landry, I believe, as well. So that'll be another good matchup.
Yeah, I'm looking at this game and I'm looking at, number one, the Titans on offense, they're going to have to run the ball with Tony Pollard. And it really comes down to, for me, I mean, you look at week one, Jordan Mason coming into the game and taking over for Christian McCaffrey. He, about an hour before the game, we found out that McCaffrey wasn't going to play. McCaffrey goes on IR. So if you're one of the ones like me that had the number one pick in fantasy, you're going crazy right now because you lost your number one running back. And if in week two, if Tony Pollard can come out of this game with 100 yards on offense, then that just shows you how the Jets defense is right now. But it comes down to that. And with the weapons that they do have on offense for the Titans, you mentioned DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, and you mentioned I totally blanked on his name, but Calvin Ridley, yes. But the weapons that they have there, if they can come out of this game and showcase that they can compete with the Jets, especially with them losing DJ Reed as well. He's questionable. Yeah, he's questionable right now, but it looks like he might not play in this game, and that only hurts their defense. So it'll be interesting to see what they have, and with Sauce Gardner going up against DeAndre Hopkins most likely, or Calvin Ridley, they're going to find somebody that gets open.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, I think that's going to be a good game. I still think the Jets have a better roster, but they have horrible coaches. So it's always like you're pushing one way and other, like the magnet when you try to push the batteries together. The other magnet's the same thing, positive and positive, and it just goes like this.
Yeah.
But I think they'll bounce back. I think I picked the Jets to win. Yeah, I did. But I wouldn't sleep on the Titans, and even when we play them, I'm not going to want to sleep on them either because we did see them play really well last year at certain points of the year, and how Will Levis against Miami. Again, I'm not picking on Miami, but they were down by 14 with like 2.5 minutes left, and they ended up winning that football game. After Will Levis threw a pick six and fumbled and had a horrible game, they still battled and won that football game somehow. So again, Jets got a better roster. Better, star talent. I think they should win this game, but definitely this would be another probably good game to watch if you can get it. And then again, the Patriots game, that's going to be another really good game. And the Dolphins have a little bit extra time to get Skylar Thompson ready they play Seattle next Sunday. And again, it doesn't matter that they're traveling to Seattle because they have all this extra time. Right. So they can even travel a day earlier if they wanted to, really. But yeah, again, they have a ton of talent as well. They have one of the best rosters in the league. And again, if they rally behind Skylar Thompson, who's been in the offense for 3 years now, I think they can still win football games. So,
absolutely. They have a talented roster, like you mentioned.
And again, he's not Tua. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they still have a lot of talent on offense and defense. And if they can run the ball effectively and they can make some play, because their defense does have some good players on it, but they need to start making more plays. Like they were always a turnover forcing defense with Flores, which, some people say they wish he was still coaching. But if they can start forcing out turnovers and they can run the ball effectively and protect Skylar from having to do everything, be that I got to throw the ball 40 times type guy that Tua can be, then I think they definitely win the next few games on their schedule.
How do you feel about the backup position there in Miami? Number one, they're talking about getting another backup quarterback or even a veteran starter, somebody that can come in and compete. What type of direction do you think that they're going to go in?
Yeah, they have to get another one. They already McDaniel already said they're going to definitely get a third one. They do have Tim Boyle, so obviously you don't want him to be the backup. I definitely think Skyler's going to take the reins for the next week or two, but Jimmy Garoppolo has been surfacing in the Dolphin community because he was with McDaniel and ran the same offense in San Francisco. And before, a couple years ago, when McDaniel took over, there was links that he wanted Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it was to compete with Tua or to be his backup. He wanted Jimmy Garoppolo in the building. So I can see that one happening. Ryan Tannehill's still out there. Again, I don't know if he's going to want to go to Miami, but this might have been an opportunity he was waiting for a starting quarterback to go down and be able to go in there. So if Tua's gone, I think it's really going to depend on Tua and his decision, because I know everyone could say they want him to retire or he should, but at the end of the day, it's up to him if he wants to play or not. I don't think the NFL can say, yeah, you can't play anymore because we're worried about you getting hurt again. I think it's up to him. So if he's going to be out for the whole year, I think they might go get a guy like Ryan Tannehill, but that's either going to be Skylar Thompson for good or maybe a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo.
What about a trade? Do you see anybody on the trade market? I know there's a lot of rumors with the Dallas Cowboys trading Trey Lance. McDaniels did. He was on the 49ers when the team drafted Trey Lance, so there could be a connection there as well.
Yeah, it's just for a trade, it's kind of difficult thinking about it because anyone that you could trade for is basically what you got already. So, I think you'd have to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm pretty sure he's on the Rams, but maybe you could go to the Browns and they got three quarterbacks. They got DTR, Jameis Winston. Obviously, Deshaun Watson is starting, but I got a feeling I don't know if that will be for how much longer.
Right.
But they can't do what the Jets did. Kind of just give up when Aaron Rodgers, because even Saleh even said we didn't have a plan, or the players even were talking about it. There was no plan after Rodgers went down. They were saying, I forgot what player it was in the interview, but he said there was no plan. It was just that was it. So if Miami, and they can still compete, they are all in. They would definitely need to make a trade. But I got a feeling they're confident in Skylar Thompson. Like I said, he's been there for 3 years in the offense. He started in a playoff game. I really think that they'll probably just run with him. But Tim Boyle does suck, so they definitely have to get another backup that's better than Tim Boyle.
Right.
Which will be interesting. I'm definitely going to be probably hearing about something in the next couple of days, if I would assume correctly, because you want whoever it is in the building. Okay, again, especially in case Skyler gets hurt too, you want someone prepared. But yeah, I could probably see Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill.
Maybe
but
DTR trade.
Yeah, DTR. It's up to Chris Greer. He's going to have to make some moves.
Yeah, definitely. They're going to have to make some moves. Let's move on from the AFC East, Sean. Let's go around the NFL. What other games are you excited about in week 5? Or I'm sorry, in week 2?
Week 5. Damn, Brett. Holy shit.
I'm already getting ahead of myself.
You want to miss half the season already? Jeez.
Well, I'm looking at the chat real quick, and I'm looking at all these buttons over here on the left-hand side of my screen. I see how many people are in the chat and everything. I'm looking at the 6 people now. There was 5 for the longest time, and I was about to say, we're seeing a little bit of a quietness to the chat, so I'm hoping some people come into the chat and start messaging and talking to us. But let's turn it over to week 2 around the NFL. What games are you excited about?
Yeah, looking here. I don't know if I'll even be able to see it because I don't know what they're going to play on my TV. But I'd like to see the Chiefs kind of take it to the Bengals again and get that much closer to one of those teams, to that Bengals team being Dunzo. Let's see here. Texans and Bears should be a pretty good game. I know it's a crappy game, but Giants Commanders. I'd like to see how Jaden Daniels does against a pretty bad team. That'll be an interesting game. Maybe Browns Jags, because we're playing the Jags next, but it might be hard to tell how good the Jags are because the Browns looked putrid. So we'll have to see that. Cardinals Rams again. Rams missing Puka Nacua and their left tackle and the left guard, so this will be a tough game for them. And then maybe lastly, the Falcons and Eagles might be a good game. I think most people were disappointed with how the Falcons played week 1. Eagles won a good game in Brazil against the Packers. And the Falcons, they have the Chiefs in week 3, I believe. And Chad or Weston, correct me. So if the Falcons lose to the Eagles, they're probably going to lose to the Chiefs, and then their season's probably over. But again, the NFC South is probably a division where you could start 0-4 and still end up winning the division. So I'm sure the Falcons wouldn't want to start 0-3. But yeah, I mean, I know I set 49ers. Are you saying they're playing the 49ers next, or that's a game you want to watch because they're playing Minnesota?
Probably the game that he wants to watch, because in week 3, the Falcons are playing the Chiefs.
Oh, okay. So, I know I said a good amount of them, Brett, but do you agree with some, or do you have different ones that you're interested in?
I have a couple of interesting ones that I think, I'm looking forward to watching. Obviously, the Lions and Buccaneers, I think that game is going to be a great one to watch. Jared Goff going up against Baker Mayfield. That's going to be great offense to see, especially with the Bucs. They're kind of one of those teams that they can be hit or miss this season. I want to see if they can compete against a team that's got such high expectations for the Super Bowl. That'll be one I'm looking forward to watching. Another game that it doesn't really intrigue me, but I'm looking forward to just seeing the storyline of Russell Wilson going back to and going up against the Denver Broncos. That's what I'm looking forward to there. I don't know necessarily if Russell Wilson will be starting that game. I
saw today, Brett, he was questionable, and he flew with the team, so it's possible. But yeah, that's a good point. And just to not to cut you off again, but the Lions Bucks is a playoff rematch from last year too, so that's a good pick that you had. Definitely be interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the games I'm looking forward to. Trey Williams saying that the 49ers Vikings should be interesting. Defense better with their new defensive coordinator. Yeah, you're right there. And Sam Darnold, I mean, week 1 played pretty good, but I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I'll go with another one real quick because you kind of stole a lot of the teams to pick, Sean. I mean,
Brett, real quick, wouldn't the Jet fan base be in shambles if Sam Darnold balls out against the 49ers? Even if they lose, he balls out against the 49ers defense when they looked pedestrian kind of against them. And man, we let him go. We ruined him.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Another game that I'm looking forward to watching. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. The Ravens going up against the Raiders. I think that game's going to be closer than you think. I know it's a 9.5-point spread, but in my opinion, I'm taking the underdog Raiders to cover that spread. I think it's going to be closer, especially with the Raiders defense that has a lot of not pivotal, but a lot of potential players. I mean, you got Christian Wilkins out there. You got Max Crosby as well. This is going to be one of those games I'm looking forward to seeing. And I think that Lamar Jackson's going to struggle a little bit in this game going up against a defense that's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely be interesting. Two teams that don't want to start 0-2. I mean, the Ravens too. They're in a hard division, so I'm confident in the Ravens this year. But like you said, I honestly felt the Raiders. Again, that was another team that disappointed me last week because the Chargers aren't that good, and they're about to start 2-0 because they're playing the Panthers this week. So they're going to be that fool's gold team, 2-0. Shouldn't be 2-0, but they will be. So they'll be tied with the Chiefs for first place in the division.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see, though. Sean, I do want to go with closing thoughts real quick. We're at about the hour mark. Let's go over to closing thoughts and just give me anything that's on your mind and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah, it sucks. The season's almost over. We're already done with 2 games, and
No, we're on week 5, in my opinion.
Yeah, Brett, we're already on week 5. It's just crazy. But no, it's gonna be a fun year, man. Like even when it's not our team, it's football's back, baby, and it's the best time of the year. And the best part about not playing, I mean, I scheduled more work this Sunday because I took last Sunday, so I won't be able to watch as much. But if you're a Bills fan or a Dolphin fan, you can sit back, watch the other teams that you're probably going to play in the future, and then just, I mean, obviously it'll be more enjoyable for us, but you can enjoy the day, watch these games, hopefully watch some good football, and then hopefully just root against all the AFC teams if you can. But no, I'm glad we did this. I know it wasn't really post game because we already did that together with Mike, obviously, and Jessica Tennis on Wednesday. But yeah, thanks for putting this together. I should be dropping part 1 of my film breakdown for the offensive line from week 2 tonight, and then I'll be recording it and sending the next part to Mike, hopefully tomorrow or the next day if I get time. And then we'll see you guys back Saturday. No. We'll see you Wednesday on my channel for weekly picks.
Right. We'll be back Wednesday. You got to remember that, Sean. So the next time that you will see me is going to be, I'm actually taking Sunday off for a day of rest. You know, it's going to be fun to have a day off and everything, not cover football overall. But the next time you'll see me is going to be on Monday on my channel, Go Bills podcast for Overreaction Monday. We'll also have a show Tuesday, our game preview, and then Sean's channel Wednesday. You know, it'd be great to be on there. And then Thursday off, back again Friday, Saturday, Sunday for football. And as always, you can remember to hit the like button for Nickel City Mafia and go on over to our channels. Give us a shout out, subscribe to our channels as well. You can find us on YouTube as well as Instagram. But you can go on over to Nickel City Mafia, click on them, and find them on Facebook and as well as YouTube. And come into the comments, even if you're watching after the show. We always go through the comments and let us know what team you're repping as well. If you're not a Bills fan, let us know who you're repping, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs. We have some Chiefs fans in here, Ravens fans as well, some Jets fans that troll us occasionally. We'll see them in there as well. But this has been a great show, Sean. I appreciate you coming on and being available for our 8:30 p.m. window. We will be back again for Red, White, and Ruthless Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For Sean, I am Brett, and we will see you again on Nickel City Mafia Saturday night. Until then, Sean?
Go ahead, you first.
All right, I'll go ahead. Before we begin with our last thing that we're going to say, we do have a surprise for you guys at the end, so don't click away for that. We have a new outro that we created. I wanted to show it to Sean.
You did it.
I created, but we do have a new outro, but for Sean, I am Brett. Go Bills.
Go Bills.